Welcome back to Hey Kentucky. Now, as you know, violence across the country towards journalists has intensified over the last couple years, and members of the news media here in Lexington have even had some experiences of their own. We sent Kathleen Smith to find us more about fake news and how it affects those who work in the business.
The presidential campaign of 2016 was the beginning of the ceaseless attacks on the free press as the fake news. Thereafter, other politicians began to fall in line with the narrative that the press was reporting falsities about them and their policies. In February of 2017, the rhetoric escalated to a new level when the president tweeted that the press is the enemy of the people. While there was a moderate hostility between many Americans and the free press during the 2016 campaign, this hostility reached new heights when this moniker was placed on the media. I sat down with several members of the local media to discuss this culture shift and how it presents a clear and present danger to their safety and our democracy.
I find the press to be extremely dishonest. I find the political press to be unbelievably dishonest. I will say that.
You're a legitimate, low-life, nasty scumbag. You're disgusting.
I want you all to know that we are fighting the fake news. It's fake, phony, fake.
You can hear there is a chorus of boos and other chants from this Trump crowd here in Tampa, Florida. They're saying things like CNN sucks, go home, and fake news.
I was actually assaulted at a vigil that we were invited to be at. We get approached by all sorts of people while we're out there. Typically don't pay much attention to it, and this gentleman just took it a little farther and decided to give me a little tap on the chin.
The most worrisome episode that we had in the last 18 months, if you recall, was when several of our windows were shot out here at the Herald Leader building. Ultimately, I think the police concluded that it was connected to a series of vandalisms in the area where other windows had been shot out. But it did allow us to kind of take a really hard look at our security. Newsrooms like ours at the Herald Leader have stepped that up even further since the really terrible shooting that took place at the Capitol Gazette in Maryland a few months back. Those have been really kind of stark reminders that we have to take safety and security really, really seriously.
You'll see it, especially when it gets to political stories. You see a lot of backlash, you see a lot of anger, and a lot of the times it is directed at the media, and that's just something we have to deal with every day.
There was a Gallup poll conducted earlier this summer that revealed that 44% of Americans believe that the information the media sends out is not true, it's inaccurate. What is your message for that 44% of Americans who believe that fair and accurate journalism just does not exist?
We work as hard as we can every single day to get to the bottom of whatever story it may be, whether it be something in the neighborhood like a little ordinance or whether it be the big story of the day in the country or the world. But at the same time, we're your neighbors, we're your friends, we're the people that you're going to see at the local brewery or at the local restaurant. We are part of this community, and we're really trying to help out this community and serve it.
We acknowledge that we are human, and that the news is produced by human beings. There are times where we make mistakes, but we correct them, and we take that seriously.
We care about our community, and that is why we're out there, and that is why we are doing this.
We have a series of checks and balances in our newsroom, as every newsroom does, to ask those questions. Are we being fair? Have we asked the right questions? Have we, is there a side to this story that we're not telling? I want people to get their news from multiple sources. I want them to read the Herald Leader, of course, and Kentucky.com, certainly. But I also want them to, watch local TV, listen to the radio, be engaged, read other sources. Don't just take your news from your feed. There is a vital role for the First Amendment to play and pushing them back against some of the commentary and the comments and the attacks that you've seen from figures in government.
You've been at this a long time. My gracious, I remember, at least from what I understand, you were once a fairly good reporter, and you actually did your homework, and you actually knew things like this and didn't just bait people with tabloid type questions. I mean, what's become of your career is kind of embarrassing. I don't know if you ever get tired of asking silly questions.
Our job is to ask questions, and our job is not to be liked by politicians or liked by public figures. Our job is to serve the public and to ask those questions whether the people being asked them like it or not.
We're not going to stop asking the questions. If you don't answer it, I'm going to ask it again. And then if you still don't answer it, if there are other journalists around, I'm very confident in the fact that they're going to ask that same question.
The First Amendment is a critical piece of our democracy. It exposes, it allows journalists to expose things that aren't working, things that are wrong, things that are corrupt. And that is why we do what we do. And it's a critical function in our society if our society is going to function well.
I think journalism throughout our history and going into our future is always going to be important, and it'd be a shame if we ever denied that.
There is a reason the amendment protecting the freedom of the press is the very first amendment to the Constitution. It is what the Founding Fathers conceived was the most vital element for the survival of our democracy. So I'll leave you with these words spoken by one of those Founding Fathers, Thomas Jefferson. Our first object should therefore be to leave open to him all the avenues to truth. The most effectual hitherto found is the freedom of the press. It is therefore the first shut up by those who fear the investigation of their actions.